in the North Conway studio. Chris Prue, joined by Mike LeBlanc, president of RideNoco, and we have an all-encompassing interview coming up. If you are interested in riding the Mount Washington Valley, specifically the gravity trails, the famous gravity trails of North Conway, this is the interview for you. So thank you for joining us, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
RideNoco, how do you describe RideNoco? What is this organization all about?
Well, I think an easy way to describe it really would be we're a not-for-profit mountain bike trails advocacy group, and really what we do is we're trail stewards of specific trails in the Mount Washington Valley. And if you want to sort of categorize the type of trails that we like to ride, but also manage and work on and maintain and work with land managers on, they're more gravity-oriented trails compared to the amazing XC network cross-country trails that we have in the valley here.
Right, so how do you define a gravity trail? I think specifically the area that we're talking about that's really gained a lot of fame thanks to your hard work is what I call hurricane zone, or kind of the area north of Conway, of Cranmore, coming down Hurricane Mountain. How do you describe those trails? So
basically they're, and if you're specifically talking about the hurricane zone, we also are trail stewards on one trail outside of the hurricane zone right now on Cathedral Edge, but it's the same concept, and really they're trails that go down mountains and up mountains. And basically it's similar to alpine skiing, although you have to access the top, so you got to pedal up, or you can sort of half shuttle up Hurricane Mountain Road, then you got to do another 500 vertical feet of pedaling, so you got to get up there. But they're trails that are designed to flow really well downhill. Once you start descending, you don't really do much uphill in between the top and the bottom. They're anywhere from 400 to a top to bottom run in the hurricane zone is just about 2,000 vertical feet. So it's to put it simply, the trails that go down mountains, and they're basically the focus of those specific trails is the downhill experience, I guess.
All right, and now if you've been on some of these trails, you'll know that they're gorgeous. They've been built by professional trail builders. A lot have been machine built, but this isn't. They're not maintained by a resort. RideNoco is the organization that maintains the trails, but it takes a lot of work. And these trails are kind of like living organisms. They are affected by a lot of things, and they're constantly changing. So what goes into the maintenance of these things?
Yeah, we have trails that are natural as well, and we have trails that are machined. There's a really good variety. That's a really good analogy, actually. They're like a natural organism. I haven't heard it put that way, but it's really accurate, because we're obviously outside in the environment. There's trees, there's all sort of natural organisms growing around the trails, and they make up the character of the trails too. Roots that come into the trails and in the soil, and all those sort of interesting pieces to it. But at the end of the day, they are on the top of a mountain. Like I said, there's a 1,500 foot vertical span if you ride down a specific way, that you can actually get that amount of vertical drop in without really anything uninterrupted in terms of going back uphill. And they require more maintenance than a trail that is sort of built on the valley floor. It doesn't have a lot of elevation change, because I'm sure everyone listening now knows how much rain we've had this summer, and when rain comes in 4 inches at a time, and there's more water running down the bottom in the middle of the mountain than at the top. So that creates a lot of issues with drainages and that sort of thing. And we have trails in our system that were built by volunteers, some of them not even without landowner permission back in the day, that have been adopted into the system. Those trails weren't necessarily built with great drainage in mind. So we've been working with folks like Corbett Tulip, who owns Tulip Trails, who lives right in the valley, to kind of come in and put professionally built drainage systems in those trails and redo sections to make them more maintainable / sustainable. And the big picture, they all require work. Some require work just about every year, but at the end of the day, like, it's a trail system that's run by volunteers, managed by volunteers. So it relies on people volunteering their time and coming in and doing the physical work, doing the fundraising, doing the advocacy piece with the land managers. There's several different land managers that we have, that the hurricane system encompasses. There's state property, there's Town of Conway property, there's Cranmore Mountain Resort property, and then we're working with the White Mountain National Forest over on the Cathedral Ledge side. So there's a lot of moving parts. We have really the system is run by the organization, is run by a board of directors. We have a group of amazing people that dedicated an incredible amount of time to all these things I'm talking about. They've been doing a great job the last couple of years, and yeah, it's a labor of love, I guess.
I mean, it absolutely is. If you've ridden this network at all, you can appreciate the work that went in. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you think, oh, a couple of kids on bikes could have created all these trails on their own, but that's obviously not the case. And if you've ridden and said...
That is how it started, though, in a lot of ways. Like, you know, some of the trails and some of the legacy gravity trails were kids back in the day. Corbett was one of them, Corbett Tulip, you know? And that's how a lot of, I'm glad you said that. I mean to interrupt, but that's how a lot of mountain bike trails get started, and we're sort of the next step in that process.
Absolutely, it's an evolution, and it's like it's a constant thing. It's like you said, these trails need maintenance. Some of it is seasonal. Obviously, you know, every year there's growth that needs to be cut back, and things that need to be, you know, trails that need to be cleared, and things like that, fall downs and. But then there's also 4 inches of rain that comes through. And if you've ever wondered, okay, how do these trails stay in this condition, or how do they get back from some of the damage they take? It's a lot of elbow grease. So how do people get involved and either help with elbow grease or in some cases even money?
Yeah, well, the easiest thing to do to get sort of plugged into what we're doing is we're really active on social media. We have a new board member who's managing our Instagram account, who's done a fabulous job, and really all of our info goes out through Instagram and Facebook. So if you follow RideNoco on Instagram or you follow RideNoco on Facebook, you'll get all the details. But you know, this summer we've been doing basically weekly. It's been happening typically on Wednesday night, sort of, you know, trail work nights. We've had a handful of them on the weekends as well. Right now we're involved in that project on Cathedral Ledge that I mentioned. We've been spending a lot of volunteer time over there.
And that trail is called Half Day?
That trail is called Half Day, and it's one of those trails that was, you know, not built officially back in the day, and it's been adopted into the system because it's very popular.
Yeah.
And we're really gracious to the National Forest and to the state park that they approached us and said, hey, there's this trail that we, you know, you guys love riding. It's not official. Like, what are we going to do here? And you know, we've worked together, we've made it official, and we've had to reroute a couple sections and that sort of thing. But that's the kind of thing that prevents the trails from getting closed. But anyway, that's what we do. And if you really want to get involved, really follow RideNoco, show up at a trail work day, start a conversation with us, and that's how we develop new board members. That's how we get new people involved. We have a great website as well. You can go to RideNoco.com, and you know, you can log in, become a member. We encourage everyone who rides the trail system to please be a member. That's really the most important thing. If you care about the trail system, we have a really affordable membership. You can scan the barcode on the kiosk we have up in the system, buy a membership there.
Wow.
Then you're plugged into correspondence. You're, you know, plugged into the whole system really in terms of how to get involved.
That's awesome. And then you also have a great event. I am holding it in my hand called Loam to Ledges. That is coming up Saturday, September 2nd. And I guess that's another opportunity to learn all about your trail projects.
Yeah, the events are super fun. They're a lot of work to put on. This one I think you can file under fun and low key. Yeah. And really what we're going to do is we're going to have some group rides before the event, and what we should have a children's ride, you know, a couple different ability level rides, really kind of laid back, no pressure type of thing. And then we're going to go to Ledges and have some great beers hopefully, and
nice.
We'll just sort of have a membership update at the event. You know, it's a fundraiser obviously, so we have some raffle items and that sort of thing, some auction stuff. So we are trying to raise a little bit of money, but really what we're hoping to accomplish more than that is just get together with like-minded folks who like the system, sort of talk about the projects we have going on next year, what we were sort of up to this year, because there's been a lot we've been up to.
All right, it's called Loam to Ledges. It's Saturday, September 2nd. You can join them during the day for some trail rides, and then 6 to 9 p.m. at Ledge Brewing, $5 suggested donation. Learn all about their trail projects, food, raffles, vendor showcases, live music, and more. So that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned before we started this interview, you were talking about some possible new trail projects?
Yeah, we have, to give folks a little bit of a background, like we talked about how our system developed. It was really started by kids building trails in the woods who were passionate about it. That sort of turned into, before our organization was formed, White Mountain NEMA back in early 2000s built an amazing trail called Red Tail, which is the legacy trail sort of in that system.
Yep.
It's been there since I think they built it in 2001 or 2002.
That's about right.
Yeah, it's an amazing trail. You know, it's still kicking today, and one of our projects is to do a bunch of work on that next year to sort of rehabilitate that trail. It's been there for 20-something years, and you know, it was built really, really well, but it does need things like professional drains and that sort of thing with the amount of rain we keep getting. But the last 4 years, we've really been focused on rehabilitating some of those legacy trails and putting in professional drainage and getting Corbett Tulip, a professional trail builder, involved in making sure that those trails are maintainable for the future. You know, everyone throws out the term sustainable in mountain biking, and it's a term that I have a little bit of an issue with because at the end of the day, everything requires maintenance. If you don't really do the work, you know, things sort of fall apart. So that's what our focus is, and we've got some pretty serious rehabilitation and just projects to make sure that our legacy trails stay there for the test of time here. And we've been putting a lot of energy into that. Next year we've applied for an RTP grant to do a lot of work on Red Tail. We're going to make a connection trail that goes from Red Tail over to Kettle Ridge that will dump you out right at the top of the Tornado Trail and the Sendero Trail. It'll be a descent that'll connect those two. It'll be like not quite a mile long. Corbett's sort of signed up to do that, but our hope is to do that rehab work on Red Tail and then connects over to Kettle Ridge. And so you could theoretically ride from the top of Red Tail all the way to the base of Cremore, sort of uninterrupted descent. But it'll just give the system a much needed connector, so you can do many different sort of variations in terms of how you ride the system. We should have there is in the works, I should say. We haven't laid it out completely yet, but there's a new natural trail that's going to go in over near the Candonar zone, which people are sort of the more hardcore group of riders are going to be really excited about that one, because we haven't built a new natural trail in a couple of years. Yep. That's what I'm passionate about specifically. So
that's near Candonar, which is a ski trail at Cranmore.
Yeah, it'll be in that general zone. It's been something we've been talking about with Cranmore Mountain Resort for a couple of years, and we just gotta, you know, we've really been focused on maintenance and updating trails that really needed some drainage work and that sort of thing. So the newer, maybe more fun stuff has been put to the side a little bit until we kind of got our act together with the rest of the system to make sure it's going to be there for the test of time, like I said. But we're finally getting back to that, hey, let's build some new trail thing, which is super exciting.
That's fun. Yeah, and like you said, these trails all need work. There's a term I like called entropy, which is, I think, the universe's tendency towards disorder. Everything always wants to like devolve into chaos, and we're just fighting the never-ending battle to put it back all in place.
Yeah.
And even if we can't, you know, make them, you know, completely indestructible, I think resilient is a good word with all the drainage that you're putting in. So it makes it a little bit. They stay better a little bit longer.
Yeah. There's nothing that you can kind of build and set and forget. Even the road I drove here on obviously needs a lot of work all the time. So.
Absolutely. Mike Leblanc, thank you so much for joining us today. RideNoco online at
RideNoco.com.
Easy enough. Yeah. And of course, follow them on socials. And we know you just flew back from like Argentina in the last 24 hours and you're exhausted. So we appreciate your coming in and stretching that fatigue a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, thank you. This sort of stuff is so important for us. So I should be thanking you for taking the time and giving us a spot here. It's really, really helpful. So thanks.
Very good. And we've been showing some footage throughout this interview. Mike doesn't know it, but I'll splice it in after. And that is actually some footage from our sister company, Pink Bike. And that's Mike, I believe, in the foreground being chased by Pete Ostrowski with the follow cam. So he walks the walk, he rides the ride too.
Yeah, try to.
All right. Mike Leblanc, RideNoco, thank you so much. You're watching Outside.